foundation, I'd like to call the foundation meeting to order at 1:45 p.m. Roll call by Dr. Zenia. Just copy the ones from this morning. Just copy the ones from this morning. Roll call. Are there any new persons? Anybody who was not here this morning? No?
Just introduce the ones that were done.
Dr. Rodrigo Abdullah, 1972. Junior.
Please read the foundation board meeting minutes. If there are any questions.
Check your packets, please. In fact,
We don't have
in
any.
packets for the foundation meeting.
We don't
It's
have.
tab, says minutes, then you go to minutes.
We don't have nothing.
Any questions? If not, then will you please approve it?
Let's remove anybody second motion. Those in favor? Aye. So for my report, you can follow me through the tab which says President's Report. You can follow me, there's a tab which is President's Report. So first off, I would like to let everybody know that it is an honor and pleasure for me to have served as the president for 2023-2024 and be held within the ranks of all the distinguished past presidents of the organization, some of which are still sitting around here with us. I'd like to thank the board and the officers for all your support and for definitely our executive director, who has, I have been her year-long pain in the neck. But as of this morning, I think Stella and I are two friends. The past presidents, Dr. Greg Tan, my forward in arms, and Dr. Jerry Flores, thank you very much for the support from PUSMA, and to all the donors, including my wife, who finally graduated and has a permanent seat now with the foundation board. So, thank you. She's in my filter, she goes through all the emails before I send them out, so I'm sure that I'm not saying any bad words. Anyways, from the highlights for the last year, after my start of the tenure of my office, I was tasked to head the second in-house mission after Dr. Ferdy Lam's pretty successful first in-house mission. So as of June 10, 2023, we put together and started a Zoom meeting every month to plan for the second in-house mission. And the representatives of USMA America and Foundation included Dr. Greg Tan, Dr. Stella Evangelista, Dr. Johnny and Zita Yoro, and Dr. Ferdinand Ramos. I think Dr. Jerry was also part of that. And then from the UST, FMS, and hospital, we included in the Zoom meetings Dr. Maglinaw, Dean, Dr. Chato, and Dr. David Bolong, Dr. William Olalia, who is the head of the MMI, the Medical Missions Incorporated. So instead of going somewhere, we got his expertise about doing an in-house mission, and he was very helpful, obviously, in planning and execution of the mission. And of course, Dr. Julius was also part of the Zoom meetings. Every month, we had a meeting leading up to the January mission, and after each Zoom meeting, I would publish the minutes of the meeting so that everyone would know what had gone on, even if they were absent. So the second in-house mission, as Dr. Chato has already shown this morning, was, I think, very successful. We also met with Dean Maglinaw. She invited us for lunch twice, and we talked, with her about especially the Research and Simulation Center, and we thought everything was fine. But there were differences in the way the MOA was constructed. So I talked to Stella and I said, Stella, we are being put at a bad light. They know that we have the money and we're not giving it to them. That's how we were being perceived in the Philippines. So I told Stella, why don't you sit down, figure out in MOA, and then send it to them, sign it and send it to them, so that if they don't sign it, then we're not the bad guys anymore. So Stella, put together a memorandum of agreement, sent it to the rector together with the $500,000, which you see here, as the initial commitment that we have of $1 million to help fund the Henry C. Research and Simulation Center. We also went to see Ms. Ward at the NRGR Foundation. So, just to show you what cooperation can do, there were a lot of gears that had to be in place for the second medical and surgical mission to be executed. And we were told that instead of 5 days, we were going to have to do everything that they did, but within 3 days. So yes, it was feasible. We could still do 16 major surgeries within 3 days instead of 5. And obviously, we could not see as many outpatients, but nonetheless, we tried to get as many outpatients as we could. So, in cooperation with USMA and UST Hospital, we partnered with Ohana Hawaii, the medical classes of 68, 69, 79, and 81, who gave funds. Medical Missions Incorporated through the participation of Dr. Olalia, Titans USA in Philippines, and Tau Mu Sigma Phi. There were other, DZRH did the local dissemination of information. Very helpful. I saw one patient, the outpatient, I said, how come you're here? He said, I heard it in the bus this morning. He said, I'm here to consult you guys. So it was very good that DZRH, they were partnered with us also last year, so this year they did the same thing as well. Prior to the mission, we consulted during our Zoom meeting with Dr. Chato, and she inquired what kind of topics they want to hear. We did not want to impose upon them what we want to lecture to them. So this mission was preceded by a CNE session entitled Beyond the Scrubs lecture series. There were 2 speakers that were zoomed in. From the United States, Mr. Glenn Krause, who talked about EMR, and as Dr. Chato was saying, they are looking forward to hopefully digitizing the charting system in the hospital. So they wanted to kind of get a feel as to what the EMR was all about. This was scheduled to be introduced to the UST soon, and Mr. John Williamson also talked on AI in medicine, which is obviously, as you now know, Joe alluded to that NVIDIA now is #1 company because of the chip technology that they have that will power all these AI initiatives. These were followed by 3 speakers who talked about opportunities for training in the United States. Dr. Joshua Belloy, it was not mentioned this morning, but Dr. Onioro had a preceptor. He graduated from the Ateneo School of Medicine, and he was in the process of going through the motions of trying to get a training program here. So we talked to him, and very nice fellow. His mother is a UST graduate, OBGYN. He invited me to lunch, and we saw him. He introduced me to his family. He's the only child, and he talked about the process of training, how to get to the United States to train. To add icing to the cake, he did match, and he's going to start his residency in New York. Right? Yeah, very nice fellow. We also got the locally the gentleman by the name of Mark Henry Hogan. Yeah, he trained in the US, he came here, trained here, but he chose to return to the Philippines to practice. There was a different perspective. So one from the Philippines trying to get into the training program here, somebody who went through the process, came here and trained, but decided to practice in the United States. And I was the 3rd lecturer. I came here and trained, practiced here, and then I retired, and I now teach. So these 3 different viewpoints, we tried to put together to do this program. So it's very well accepted. There were a lot of interns and residents and fellows there. So we don't want to do a brain drain, but they were interested in these topics just as well. Dr. Chato had already showed these slides about how many surgical and medical cases we did. Sorry if you can't see in the back, there is also attrition in the screen size. Before we had a big screen, now it's small. The types of surgeries, Dr. already talked about, Chato. So the 3-day mission from January 18 to 20 served these many patients. There were no surgical complications reported, and the needy indigent patients in the Sampaloc district and surrounding areas benefited, as well as the nurses, clerks, interns, and residents who were exposed to added clinical material. Pretty nicely, some of us went. Dr. Sita Yoro saw patients in the outpatient department, as well as my wife, and Dr. Nelcar and Rose Catrinap also participated. Dr. Ferdy Ramos was there. Dr. Rafi Castro, who is from Chicago, the president of the UST Midwest, also went there and I think talked to Father. And a couple of our friends from Chicago also were there to help out with the optical department. Mrs. Nora Chai is a nurse, graduate from our school, from our College of Nursing. So the 3rd in-house mission is scheduled for January 23 to 25, or 2025. I think my successor, Dr. Rina Flores, will be heading that mission. So the day always started with the mass, and we had to be in that little chapel between the clinical division and the FMS. Father was also always there every morning. We had to be there at 7 o'clock, I think it was, every day to attend the mass. And then this was the mission ended with a closing ceremony. Dr. Chato showed some pictures of awarding of certificates of appreciation. So the alumni who work at the outpatient, these are some of the pictures that we have. Ferdy Ramos is there, Dr. Sita Yoro, Dr. Rose Catrinap. And the meetings that we had with the dean, we had lunch at her office and with Annette Ward. And the details of the 500,000 that we have already delivered to UST for the research center and the remaining portion of our promise to them, Dr. Stella will go through. So thank you all for all your support, and I hope that you continue to be fired with the enthusiasm of continuing with this organization, which obviously is all near and dear to our hearts. Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
So, when Dr. Chato reported, and then I was reading the surgical report also, were there only total volunteers? Were there different volunteers for the surgical and different volunteers for the medical?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
No wonder the food was high.
yes. Pero mas may kaya yung simultaneous po kasi sila
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what because, you have to feed the,
Yes.
nothing.
There's a lot of logistics
Just
involved.
snacks and whatever.
Yeah.
But you do have to feed them, get all their scrubs, get them all organized. That's hard work.
Yeah, that was part of the funding that our foundation did. So there were volunteers in the surgical department, nurses, clerks, residents, and then there were also volunteers. They registered the outpatients, the triage the outpatients, and then we had clerks, interns, and residents who worked with us, seeing the patients as well. So we kind of just supervisory, but nonetheless, all the volunteers were the ones who did it. Yes, Dr. Chan.
din po, kasi daw, immediately post, we have volunteers naman monitoring the patient in the bathroom and in the ward. So we have volunteers in the operating room, in the bathroom, in the ward. And there was a time though that all these 60 patients met together kasi 3 days post of recovery. So up to the 4th and 5th day, may mga iba kami pinapakain din daw kasi they were still monitoring the patient even after the 3-day medical and surgical mission.
So in the surgical mission, there were 235 volunteers, residents, interns, medical students, nursing included. And in the medical part of the mission, there were 401 volunteers. So a total of 636 medical and surgical volunteers.
Plus
Now-
we have consulting staff.
Yes, included. So for next year, 2025, we have included dental extractions as part of the mission. We already have volunteers, dentists, that will coordinate with the dental clinic in UST. That will be included in the mission.
Comparing date, 23 to 25.
It's 24, 25.
And
But 22 will be the CME.
22 cents.
Half day for MDs, half day for RN.
Before I forget, I just want to mention, Dr. Grace Bautista is here. Grace, class 68. She was responsible for sending the Math International medication from the U.S. to the Philippines. And Auline G never mentioned the other half, the better half. Tony Gonzalez, Elvis Presley, class 68. He is responsible for the safe site mission and the Travis surgery, by the way.
Yeah, just mentioned that his numbers were good. He did the work in December because they were jubilarians last year. And he could not stay for the January in-house mission. But we counted the cases that he did, the 3 eye cases that he did, and I think 20 cataract surgeries that were done in December of 2022. That's also counted within the second in-house mission. The addition.
Say Bahad.
The Americares medication were procured by Dr. Oni and Sita Yoro. Thank you. We also subsidize, Kusma Foundation also subsidized Alaunian Medical Mission. And that mission, we are a 5-day mission with Dr. Robert C. Joined the mission, and Dr. Bolo. And they were sending 20 major surgery patients to UST, subsidized by the Ohana Mission.
I sent 11 boxes, balikbayan boxes, and I did not charge the foundation for the shipping. All surgical scrubs, surgery instruments were donated by my classmates, and eyeglasses were sent to the Philippines for the Omicron part. Basically, there were pharmacists involved as well during this mission, not only doctors, not only nurses, but pharmacists, and I think from the optometry section as well. Yeah, are there any questions you have to report? If not, I would like to call on our executive director, Stella, for her director's report.
My report is in there, it says Executive Director Report. So the first one is the deed of donation, which was already touched on by our president, so I will not go through that. We have given 500,000, we're waiting for, I guess, the delivery of the machines before we will give the other 500,000. Part of the MOA, which we kind of demanded, that we should have a plaque of recognition with the names of the donors, and that will be placed in the CME auditorium, outside the CME auditorium. So we will have a hand in making sure that it's done properly, even if we have to pay for it. You know what I mean? We have extra money. So that's for the Simulation Center. Then the next topic is the St. Martin Forest Indigency Trust Fund. We had a memorandum of understanding signature from the USMA Foundation Board and the University of Santo Tomas Hospital. That was done last year. It was signed and memorialized June 4 of 2023, but actually we started the project 2022. We gave the initial $25,000 to subsidize 10 patients per month. This was, as of last year, we increased it to 20, but I don't think that has been carried out yet. Is that right? 20 patients, surgical patients per month.
Apparently, we started.
They will start it, okay. We already approved the 20 patients, 20 surgical patients per month to be subsidized by the USMA Foundation, 10,000 patients each. The endowment fund, Dr. Tony Bonilla will discuss that in detail in a little while, right? Second in-house medical surgical mission was also discussed, but let me just say that there was a question earlier how much we spent. The first medical surgical mission, we spent $55,500. 35,000 of that was shouldered by USPLA Foundation. The rest were donations from Ohana, Medical Mission, Titans, who else? Individual donors.
Individual classes and
Individual classes and donors. Class 81. Okay. And so anyway, the total was 55,500. And we did, of course, a 5-day mission, and we saw more patients, we did more surgicals. However, this year, it was cut back to, it was trimmed, meaning to say we did it more efficiently and cheaper. From the hospital, USC Hospital spent $21,880. And from the US, we spent 6,000 something here. Hold on. 6,884. So the total expenses for the second surgical mission was 34,679, which was much lower than 55. So, in other words, I think our budget should be around 35,000 a year for medical surgical in-house mission. And the budget from the foundation can be in the 20,000 range, and then the rest will be donations from other groups that want to join or sponsor. So that left a balance of $34,679. That was because we gave Father 55,000. So there's an extra money of 34,000 that has not been spent. And Father asked for his recommendation, he will report on that, what to do with the 34,000. And I just want to remind everyone that our goals and focus for the foundation for the next few years, I think, is to improve the census at clinical division, provide free medical surgical care to indigent patients, provide teaching materials for students, interns, residents, and fellows, and attract MASH graduates to take up internship and residency at STUH. So I think we should be more creative. If you can put all your hats on and start thinking how we can help achieve these goals. In the second page, you will see the breakdown of the expenses from the medical surgical mission. You can read that, right? But for the purposes of those who don't have any pamphlets, more or less the hospital spent 22,000 divided into surgery, eye surgeries, squint, lab, medical supplies, office supplies, food for volunteers. Food for volunteers, believe it or not, was 7,600. It's a lot of money, but there's a lot of people to feed for 3 days, for three meals a day.
So for 3 meals and 2 snacks.
3 meals and 2 snacks. So that's understandable, but I was impressed by the fact that the laboratory only cost $261. That's very inexpensive. And the medical supplies was only $728. So that too. But we did bring we still do have supplies from last year. Yeah. Okay. And then we bought the medications. I supplied the medications from the U.S. For the IV antibiotics and medicines. We can buy it cheaper here than in the Philippines. Yeah. In fact, even anesthesia, but you cannot bring sevoflurane on the plane. So, yeah. Can you ship it? Oh. Because sevoflurane is one of the large expense for a surgical mission. So, if I buy it here, because we have a wholesale pharmacy, it's much cheaper than if you buy it in the Philippines. But you have to ship it because I thought we could bring it, but we could not bring it. We can't bring it on the plane because yeah. But if you can ship it on the plane, then maybe we can do that next year. No, it's cheaper. I compared the cost. Sometimes they'll give you, not all the time.
Dr. Chapman, weren't they able to get, Dr. Watt, able to get cheaper from Korea?
No, the sevoflurane were paid by, first was by Titans, second one by Taomu. So it was cheaper to get it there, it was safer for transport. The propofol was from the US.
From America.
It was also expensive, we can bring it to the Philippines. That's no problem.
Okay, so I think the rest of the report is self-explanatory. And patient satisfaction also was 100%, highly satisfied, no complications.
Actually, Dr. yung first medical mission, there were 2 major complications. One was reopened. But
Oh.
for this second one,
None, 0. Not bad.
pero wala tayong death, no?
Then I have a question. Did any of you, can you newsletter, e-letter.
Just the second one.
Okay, so what happened then is, we hired Akubo, which is a data management group in the Philippines. They also do AFI. But anyway, so I've been paying like $250 a month. They're updating our website, our data management, our database. And then we have this newsletter that they send. And I didn't know until recently that nobody got it. So the newsletter was like an annual report, what we did. So nobody got it. Unbelievable. Okay. So something happened, it didn't go through.
Is it through email or how did it?
E-blast.
Email.
And they are, so I'm trying to investigate why, but anyway, what we'll do is, we will send another one, and then we will resend that one, and then send more details, and we'll see what happens. I don't know what happened, but they sent it, I didn't send it, they sent it to our. Nobody got it, okay. So, I'm done with my report. Any questions?
We have to mention that we sent the EKG machine, cardiac monitor.
That was from last year, yeah.
Yeah, from last year. But what I meant to say is we have to continue sending small monitors. And like SMA 12, and if you could have a chest x-ray, then we have a complete assisting lab for OPD patients.
Actually, one expense din po kasi natin, like if we do this medical mission yearly, makakabawas po if the ECG, the X-rays, which are the basic pre-op screening, can be done through the, kasi yung pong iba doktora, they have to be sent out para mapa-ECG, X-ray. Pero kung meron na tayo sa atin, we can.
Well, I suggested last time that, you did one EKG machine, right? We only had one, and then we had the cardiac monitor, then what else? I suggest,
We send also pulse oximeters.
also synergy. I suggested last time that we buy the digital X-ray machine, we meaning foundation, will buy the machine and put it in the clinical division. It's around $25,000. So if we buy that, then everybody can use it. Actually, Wonder is very easy to read and it's digital.
Actually, may sinend po si Dr. Ramos na parang ultrasound. And we had our biomed. May konti lang na ginawa and we were able to use it.
Ano yung ultrasound?
Hindi naman po kami choosy kahit basta magagamit. Actually, Dr. mas maganda nga po kung hindi lang one. Kaya nga yung private kasi naman na, actually po right now, Father, if I may share, no? We have one digital, newly bought na X-ray. Yun na lang siya pa-function ngayon.
How much did this cost? $90 million, how much is that in dollars?
GB.
That's around $25,000. Yeah.
Pero doktora, ano siya yung umiinom sa
So we can donate one X-ray machine. That will supplement the other one that you have. If it's
we have,
9.
and if we have been nga po medical mission, everyone na makikinig.
Free. Actually, if we donate an X-ray machine and a CBC CAN profile machine,
Yes.
that will be perfect. And I don't know how much is the
Actually,
lab.
doktora, may need kasi si Father na yung sa ER complex, magkaroon ng mini laboratory for the
Definitely, yeah.
cases po.
So that you don't have to send the patients out for blood work.
That's less than 20K.
I think the machine is not that expensive. It's the reagents.
Okay, usually po ang ano is tied up with religion. Na they give us the machine, pero
Then
may
we buy the
quota
reagents.
sa-
Okay. And so I will move that we buy for the
Digital X-ray.
hospital and then digital X-ray Gabs, what do you call that machine? SMA machine?
SMA and CBC machine.
SMA for the chemical profile. CCC.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Ferdy had mentioned, there's an appeal from Dr. David.
Let's use the microphone. So
Where's the
that we can-
microphone?
Excuse me.
I'm not sure if Ferdy, Dr. Ramos mentioned, there's an appeal from my classmate, Dr. David Bolong. Their C-arm and their cardiac monitor has been breaking down. And they requested, I think, through the hospital, but I think it takes so long. So they bought on their own, the Department of Surgery, a cardiac monitor, and I think they borrowed a C-arm from Chinese Gen or something. It was just recent. So he was asking me to ask the USMA Foundation Board if you can help them, either monetary donation so they can buy the C-arm, because they have their sources where they can buy them so cheap, because these are breaking down very often, so they don't like to buy a very expensive equipment that you have to maintain all the time.
Actually, Doktora, if I may add, kasi
Yes.
CR po, ang one good thing about CR is hindi lang po ang surgery general ang gumagamit. Ortho also uses it, even Euro uses it po. So, multiple department po nakakarami. Just that, yung reason nga po, even with the maintenance, ano po, hindi na po ma-repair yung CR. So, we're looking at, baka po meron pwedeng maglagay ng CR and then we just have a profit sharing or split payment. Kaya lang, kung pinocompute namin, Doktora, parang talo ang hospital. Kaya ang move nga po ni Dr. Bolong nun is that, why not buy? So, ang inaano, just mga 12 or something like that.
Just for point of clarification, we said the digital X-ray was 9M.
Depende kung ano
No,
brand.
the digital X-ray you were talking about earlier.
The digital X-ray daw, depende sa ano, is mga around 8 to 9 M daw.
Yeah, but this is
Depende.
$157,000.
Yeah, actually.
Oh, is that right? Oh my God.
$157,000.
Because, no, well,
But
maybe it's a,
we can sort to a much lower po. Kasi depende po sa...
no, but just, I was just thinking of a chest x-ray, not a real big x-ray. You know, just for,
The portable X-ray.
it's also digital. We bought one in our facility, $25,000. It's a, you know, portable. But only mostly for chest x-ray and for fractures, not for, not
So
for.
we can canvas. Mag-canvas muna po kami no? And then we'll let you know kung magkano.
Digital. Digital.
Kasi yung sa UST, yung
Yun sa mga purchase, that's probably a high-tech
GE,
talaga.
opo, high-end po sa
We'll kind of, we'll interrupt the agenda
For the Zoom? It's for the Zoom, Estela?
Okay, I think for the Zoom, yeah. Marcus is my son will read his introduction here. Hold on. He is going to discuss about the succession. Marcus, can you hear us? Marcus, can you hear us? He's my son, number 3. Okay, Can you hear you?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
good.
Okay. Yes, not very loud, but
It's not loud.
it's on.
Can you hear me?
The volume is not that good, but let's see what happens. Okay, so let me just introduce Marcus. He is an attorney, graduated from Boston College, CPA, and MBA, and graduated with honors. and he is a corporate attorney serving our family. So he has been practicing for 14 years and has worked before coming to our family business. He worked with the prestigious law firm of Dickinson Wright and also Arthur Anderson, one of the largest accounting firms in the world. He served at the office of the Attorney General for a while, and also the Michigan Supreme Court, and also worked at the White House as a White House intern with President Bill Clinton. So we were registered Democrats, but now, like I said, were, but don't say anything because we don't want to be no politics. Okay. He was recently appointed Honorary Consul General of the Philippines in Michigan, the youngest one in the whole Philippines, I think, Mark. So, to follow his dad, Joe, so now he is our Honorary Consul General in Michigan. And I just want to mention that the Honorary Consul General in Ohio is here with us, Susan Flores. She was recently appointed. When were you appointed? Like 2 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So those are services that are provided pro bono. Marcus also, because Detroit is the hub, for Delta, so we get a lot of Filipino citizens that come through our hub. And we get called by immigration for Filipinos making magic to their, their passport, and sometimes bringing money, more than $10,000. And whenever he needs an interpreter, I have to go with him to the jail because there's somebody that is in jail because they're bringing more than $10,000. And they cannot speak English. They're bringing money to give to their son, who's getting married, things like that. Or somebody forgot that a husband and a wife or a parent and a son, they have to add all that money and it can go over $10,000. So anyway, so he is single. So anybody here who has an eligible daughter, we can do some matchmaking. We're not going to tell you his age. He's under 30. No. He's up there, but he's waiting for the right person.
He's young at heart.
So he's our legal counsel for Maple Manor Rehab Center and Evangelist Development. When he's not working, he enjoys ballroom dancing. And so anyway, let's give a huge big hand to Marcus. Marcus is our legal, he's the one that I talk to when we need legal counsel for UST. Okay.
Stella, can I just a brief thing? My sister Regina Flores, who's the incoming president of Pisma Foundation, is joining us through this Zoom meeting. Okay, so you'll see her face as well. Thank you.
Do you pay her what? Do you pay him what?
I give him free trip to the Philippines.
No, the Evangelist Empire. Do you pay her?
No, they are not spoiled. They have to be paid according to the wage rate.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready to get started?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and then, are you going to be controlling my slides or will I control them here?
You can focus.
Because we don't have the.
You can share?
Go ahead, you can just do my slides, I'll just tell you the next slide.
Can you hear?
No,
we can understand.
Okay. And what's on your screen now, slide one?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I first want to wish everyone good luck in Las Vegas. I hope you come back with more money than what you started with. And secondly, UST is very close to my heart. My mom and dad and all of you have dedicated your lives to UST. I very much enjoyed growing up and going to all the conventions over the last 35 years. Looking back, now that I'm an adult, looking back, it's amazing what you've accomplished. It is an extraordinary organization, and you have a lot to be proud of. Over the last 35 years, UST has raised over $12 million. Annual conventions yield approximately $50,000 to $100,000 per year. You get huge class donations and chapter donations. You've raised $1.6 million for the Tomasian Alumni Center. You've also raised $1 million for the Simulation Center. And currently, you have approximately $8 million. And I believe the goal of the organization is to now hit $10 million in the next few years. Next slide. Your accumulated funds are $8 million. At this point, and given that a lot of you are in your twilight years or retirement years, you're kind of reaching the end of the road. You have $8 million. There's really no reason to put this money at risk. I think it's best for the organization to consider investments with guaranteed rates of return, low risk or zero risk investments, treasury bills, money markets, S&P 500, very low risk. Worst case scenario, you can make 3% on $8 million, which equates to $240,000 per year in interest or returns. The interest alone can fund your future. You can reinvest it. You can continue your growth. Your legacy will be held indefinitely. Caymus wine. This is one of the finest wines on the market right now. It's a 100-point wine. UST is just like a fine wine. It has gotten better with age. It improves through time. But like any wine, you want to protect it, you want to cherish it, you want to savor it. Otherwise, we know that wine, if you don't take care of it, wine will turn into vinegar. And we don't want that to happen to UST. And therefore, I'd like you to consider some UST legacy considerations. And here are a few. But as we think about that, you have to think about what is the next generation going to be. Will there be a next UST generation? Are there enough UST doctors in the future to keep the organization going? Will UST have a slow and then death? Will the next generations have the same values and goals as all of you? The future is a little bit unknown, there's a little bit of risk, so we need to protect the UST Foundation in perpetuity with a few legacy provisions. Your legal structure, before we get there, UST has two charitable organizations that are 501c3, as you may know. The UST AAA, that's your operational entity, and the UST Foundation is your financial entity. Legally, they're separate, but they're sister organizations, so the funds are protected from any operational liabilities. And what's the importance of that, or what does that mean? Well, if the organizational entity enters into a bad hotel contract for one of your conventions, at least your foundation and your other entity that has all the money and your financial assets is totally protected from liability. It's legally separate. So that's a great, I like how this is set up. It's very good. As to the legacy provisions, I'd like to mention 4 legacy provisions that I'd recommend. The first being family member proxies. I believe this has made it into your bylaws, if I'm not mistaken. but family member proxies giving individuals who have donated over $25,000. Those are people that have skin in the game. They've donated, they've earned the right to vote. I think they should have the right to designate family member votings. And so therefore your children and your family member can vote on your behalf, and they can follow your traditions and beliefs in the future. And I believe this provision should survive after death. So if a member passes away who donates $25,000, their legacy can continue on in perpetuity with their family members voting on their behalf. The second provision that should be considered is an endowment fund. It's best to create a permanent endowment fund that cannot be touched. It'll be fully protected and preserved. It can generate ongoing financial support. It will establish a long-lasting legacy to remember your organization by, and it should continue to fulfill future missions and provide financial security to organizations like the UST Hospital, the UST School, students trying to go to medical school. Your efforts will be carried on in perpetuity with an endowment. To give you a couple examples, Harvard University, one of the biggest endowments on earth, has $50 billion in an endowment fund. Amazing. Yale University, $41 billion. University of Michigan, $17 billion. Bill Gates Foundation, $69 billion, and so on. And it can continue to grow in perpetuity. With an endowment fund, you need to designate a reputable trustee. The trustee will hold the funds in trust for the benefit of UST and its philanthropic efforts. And the trustee will manage and do all the reporting for the organization in perpetuity. They typically take a low percentage, it's a 1% nominal fee. And for example, Community Foundation of Michigan is it's a very renowned trustee. They historically earn about 7%. So 7%, they would take 1% of that, so 6% can be earned and invested and given back to UST and its constituents. The third point I'd like to make are establishing conservative investment policies for the organization. I think it's in the best interest for UST, your foundation, to consider low-risk, guaranteed returns. There's no reason to be in an aggressive fund or diversified funds. You don't need to put money at risk. So, and you dedicate a percentage of the income to future operations, and you can dedicate a percentage of the income to reinvest in your fund to make it continue to grow. You should also consider low investment fees, like 1%, that's a very low fee, and your UST endowment can live in perpetuity. The fourth and final consideration would be to establish a new chapter for the next generation. What does that do for you? Well, I think it's best at this point, since you've earned so much money and it's so significant, it would be best to preserve your chapter, create a permanent endowment, and let that legacy grow in perpetuity in your name. The next generation, we can create another 501c3, a new chapter, a new generation, and they can do it, they can build and do the purposes that they want. The UST Foundation could consider giving seed money to the next generation, but I leave that up to the board's discretion. In conclusion, the point here is to start thinking about some legacy provisions for your foundation. Four things you should consider are formalizing your family member proxy voting. Second is to create a permanent endowment fund to protect your money in perpetuity. Third is to establish conservative investment policies with guaranteed returns. And fourth would be to set a new chapter for the new generation. And finally, USD organization that you've created over the last 35 years, it's like a fine wine. You have to protect it, preserve it, savor it, protect your legacy, let it grow in perpetuity, and let your charitable missions continue on and carry on in the future in your name. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time and attention. I greatly appreciate it. I wish I could be there with you today.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Can you entertain some questions, Mark?
I wasn't sure.
Yes, we heard you okay. Does anybody have any questions for Attorney Evangelista?
Do you have any girlfriends?
This is Dr. Flores, Maria Regina. I don't know if you can see me or hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you are suggesting to create another fund, the branch off from what we have now, for the future generations. I get it, some of the future generations may not think the way we do, or even some of our generations may not think the way we do. How does that work? Will it be, because right now the name of the foundation is USD AAA, MAA Foundation. Will it be a different name altogether, or how does that work?
Thank you, Madam President. I understand your question. It's just a matter of setting up a new LLC or incorporation. It's a matter of filing paperwork with the IRS, getting a separate tax ID, and just choosing a name it could be similar, it could be a little bit different, but it can't be the identical name. It could be USD Foundation Part 2 or Phase 2 or whatever the name they want to call it, to the extent it's available at the IRS. So there are many other chapters around the country that I noticed that they have their own 501c3. So it would be no different from doing that, setting up another foundation or another entity for the next generation.
Can I have a question, Mr.? Thank you, Ron. Marcus, thank you for a very enlightening presentation. We long wanted to hear this, but thank you. My question is, if we were to proceed with that, will that entail an amendment in the bylaws again to accommodate this?
You mean to set up a new chapter?
The CBLs, right. I'm talking about, do we have to make an amendment in our bylaws? And what specific bylaws do we follow? Are we going to enshrine another clause, perhaps?
That's right. I think, to answer your question, there would need to be an amendment for a couple of things. One would be the voting provisions for family members. That might have made it in your bylaws already, but I'd like to take a look at it, to continue the family proxy voting. The second thing, the other matters could be accomplished by corporate resolution, which would mean you want
want to achieve. And two, it will create a separatist movement between the younger and the older generation. So I just want to know what the thoughts are regarding that.
Oh, yeah. Marcus, I understand that the best way to protect our fund and continue the endowment fund that we have made is to put it in a trust. When do you think is the most appropriate time to put it in a trust? Do we have to wait until we're all sick, or can we do it right now? When is the appropriate time?
You know what? There is no time like the present. So what you could do, you could do it today. You could do it 5 years from now. I would say you could. What I would recommend is you start exploring that option. I would pick a trustee, and you could contribute a portion of it at a time. Let's say you want to put in $1 million and see if you're comfortable with that, and then you can put the rest in later. You know, it's very flexible because you could do it right now. There's nothing stopping you from doing it now or tomorrow. So, what's the best time? It's really we can get moving on it now, or we can do it in steps, or we can do it in phases.
So, as a corollary to the question, Mark, does the current holder of our portfolio have any role in the trusteeship, or we have to get another independent trustee?
Well, right now, the money is invested with a typical investment advisor. So they're under the fiduciary duties of a regular investment advisor, and that's fine, that's great. But they're not going to do all the financial reportings, and they're not going to create an endowment. You need the trustee. It's a little bit different. When you move to a trustee, the money and the assets will be held in a trust, and it'll be fully protected, and they will manage it and do all the reporting, and they do take a fee for that. So it's a little bit, it will feel the same, but legally it will be different. It'll be in an endowment that will be protected permanently. Like it's rock solid. Once it's in trust, it'll be permanently protected in perpetuity.
I have another question. Sorry for all these questions, but okay, so why not just put up an endowment fund since it's already going to protect what's existing, instead of creating another branch out and separating the future generation and the generation that's already invested? If you already can protect the money in the endowment fund instead of creating a possible rift or a possible segregation between older and newer generation, what would be an advantage of getting a branch out, organization that's another 501c instead of just remaining the same and then have that endowment fund which is already protected and shielded?
That's a good point. You don't really need a separate entity, and let me address that in a couple of ways. So remember, we have two sister organizations. Okay, we have the operating UST MAAA, which is the UST of America. That's an operating entity, and then you have the UST Foundation. The foundation has all the money. That's what you earn. That's what your sweat and blood is in the foundation. That can be protected. The future generations, they could just use the operating entity, and all the money can stay within that organization. There's really no need to create separate and let it mature and just keep that on a sunset provision that can't be touched. So that's one way to do it. You don't even need to set up a separate chapter. Secondly, if the new generation wants a separate chapter, they could set up their own foundation, but continue to use the operating entity for their memberships and conventions, which is a good idea. In other words, each generation will have their own savings account, but you can still use the operating account of the USD. So I don't think anyone will feel separated. They'll just have their own savings account, and they can accumulate their own funds as needed. And maybe as a gesture, you could give some seed money to the next generation if you wanted to. But hopefully that answers your question.
So in other words, it's not necessary to have another 501c. You could just do an endowment fund, which would protect the existing funds and leave it as that. Is that correct?
That's correct. You could. Yes, you could. That's right.
Next.
Okay, this is Steven from I think I would agree with your suggestion that keep the operating instead of creating another chapter who will have their own again another officers or set of board of directors. It's just that existing operating USMA since it's already established, it has its own investment account already, and let them have their own separate savings. I think I would agree with your that suggestion instead of another entity, because having create a third leg, it might complicate things. Okay, so now my question is this: so the foundation you're thinking about moving the fund to a trustee, which means, does it mean the trustee is the one, the sole decision maker on how to distribute?
No.
Or the trustee will have still board members from the foundation to make the decision on which projects are they going to support?
Doctor, that is an excellent question. I'm glad you raised it. Once you give the money to a trustee, it's like a marriage without a divorce. Okay, so the money goes in trust permanently, and the board members can no longer fight about it, negotiate about it, talk about it. The money is invested in perpetuity, and you don't have a say anymore in the money. So that's why you need a reputable trustee company that has a good track record. You want to pick a good one, and the money is in their hands in trust. It's legally owned by the trustee, but it's for the benefit of UST and its beneficiaries. So you're absolutely right. You lose control over your assets, but you're going to get guaranteed distributions. Well, guaranteed distributions in perpetuity based on their historical performance.
Thank you, and that's my understanding. Once you remove the foundation fund, transfer to a trustee, you lose control. So if you donated your 100,000, thinking that you have some sort of control, like, oh, I want to earmark this portion to medical mission, whatever, you will lose that control because you're going to transfer that to the trustee. Is that right?
Let me explain.
Yeah, so, Doctor, I want to clarify one thing. So, yes, you lose control over your assets, but you have control over the distributions. So, you're going to make, let's say, 3% on $8 million, you'll be getting $200,000 to $300,000 a year back to the organization that can be distributed at your discretion. So, you have control over your income. And the good thing about putting it in a trustee's hands, although you lose control, you also protect it from future board members trying to fight over it, do something with it, or do something different, or spending it unwisely. It's in a fiduciary stand in perpetuity, and it's protected. And that's how you make your money survive indefinitely.
last question.
One last question, Mark. Can the organization continue in perpetuity without creating a trust? In other words, as you suggested, passing on the rights of the members to family members, again following all the bylaws of both UST-MAA and Foundation, so that it continues as it is, but the function is passed on to the new generation with exactly the same function, no trustee involved.
I don't think.
Doctor, to answer your question, yes, theoretically, a corporation can live in perpetuity. A corporation has no expiration until it dies a natural death or gets dissolved or nobody else is interested in it. So yes, to answer your question, this organization can do nothing and let it go on in perpetuity. But you have to remember, who are the people that are going to make this, who are the board members going to be in 20 years? What are they going to think? What are the traditions and beliefs they'll have? Will they have the same mission and goals and values that you have? I haven't done it. So it just, get the hands of other people, and if you want to do it that way, that's okay. Legally, it will exist, but it's at the discretion of future board members who we don't know who they are, and we don't know what their values will be, and it's at the risk, they can do something stupid with it, they can invest it here, they can invest it there. We don't know what they're going to do, there'll be no financial controls. And they just take it to a board vote, and at that point, it'll be up to that board at that given time. And, but if you want to control your destiny and your legacy, you can put these legacy protections in place, so at least the income will continue to fund your project in perpetuity. And the income can be reinvested back in the same fund, which will make it grow and grow. And that's why you have Harvard University with these $50 billion of an endowment that has lasted forever. So that's something to think about. So your question is well taken, but there are pros and cons either way.
I think in the interest of time, this is obviously a complex issue, and what I'd like to propose is maybe set up an ad hoc committee of, certain key individuals who can discuss, the pros and cons of the issues that have been touched on by Attorney Evangelista, then come back to us and explain what they feel will be the best solution moving forward. Instead of having, 50 different opinions, and we're going to be here until kingdom come. So I think it would be best to create a committee that can really honestly and sincerely look into these issues, obviously with legal counsel, and then come back to us and then present what they feel is the best way to move forward. Okay?
Can I have one last question? I think it will be important for that ad hoc committee to know. No. One question so that it will help the ad hoc committee. One question. Just one question. So my question is this: just for the sake of the future ad hoc committee who will work on this, does the board member of USMA Foundation has the power to change the trustees if at any point in time they feel that they're not working as expected? Does the USMA Foundation board members have the power to change the trustees in case in the future they don't feel that they're going into the right direction in terms of the continued interest and income that can be generated from the
Was that question for me?
Yes.
The question was, can the trustee be changed in the future?
To answer your question, the answer is
is doing this pro bono for hours.
I just wanted to mention that once you, as I said, once you give your money, the assets will be theirs, belong to the trustee. But you know, there is a state law. It is what do you call this? It's monitored by the government. I mean, you know, you can be criminally responsible if your trustee is doing something hanky-panky. You can sue them and you can go through legal means because there is state law regarding trusteeship. So it's not like you can just give it to somebody and forget it. No, there is a state law. It's a criminal offense if they do something crazy or if they don't follow the rules.
Absolutely, there are checks and balances and it's totally regulated. So it's not like you're giving it to a regular investment advisor. These are trustees and, they're pretty reputable. So you just want to pick a good one. And they're financially, they disclose all their assets and their books and records and you can see how financially viable they are and how long they've been doing this. But that's correct. It's regulated by the state, federal and state.
So, thank you, Attorney Evangelista. I would like to invite all of you on the CME, the last lecture this Saturday. The topic is proper use of legal entities for lawsuit protection. So there will be an extended discussion of this topic, and I'm sure all of you, please feel free to attend the last lecture this Saturday, okay, after that you get free lunch.
Thank you very much, Attorney Evangelista, for your time and your expertise. Thank you. In the interest of time, we'd like to move on with our agenda. Treasurer's report by Dr. Yoro.
Can I move to create an ad hoc committee for further study?
Alright, so there's a motion to create an ad hoc committee.
I second that motion.
Seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Robert. Ann. Those in favor? Those against?
Who's the chairman?
So who?
Who wants to be chairman?
We're going to do one responsible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need volunteers.
How many volunteers do you need?
Can somebody make a note?
Less than 50, okay? Less than 50 volunteers. 5.
Volunteer for we need ad hoc committee. So we can create it, we can meet through Zoom.
Okay. Very good. Robert. So
Robert. Dr. Lynn, can you tell us?
How many?
Jerry.
Lilibet. Jerry.
If it's me or Regina, I think it would be okay. Regina.
Okay, can you repeat that point? Your members of your committee.
I didn't get everybody. I have Jerry, Regina. Regina, what's the last name?
Flores. Boy, eliminate my name. If Regina is there, just take my name.
Just one Flores.
Just one.
Who else?
Evelyn and Roger Robert
Evelyn.
Robert and Renee.
Lomio Garcia. Okay.
You give your contact information to Dr. Boyd, okay, so that he knows something that should
Renee
be.
Lim.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one. And myself.
Very good.
Ladies for this
Okay.
Everina is the girl. Rina is the girl.
Did he add Rene Lim?
I don't know.
Because he's a big donor. And Stella suggested Rene.
Why?
Rene Lim should be there.
Rene Lim in your committee.
Rene Lim.
Rene Lim in your committee.
Rene Lim.
Rene Lim.
I just need the contact.
Okay.
Yun si Rene Lim yung nakapink.
Nakapink. Oh.
Executive CEO.
Kanino ko po yung contact number?
Where can he get the... Hindi yung attendance. May phone number.
Treasurer's report by Dr. Yoro. For the
Hanapin ko.
So good afternoon. For the CEO's report, there's a tab there regarding the CEO report. This is very short. As mentioned by Dr. Stella a while ago, the money that was given to us last year for medical mission was $55,000. However, we only spent about $21,800 and there's a balance of $34,600. The reason for the balance is that during this year we were more creative in terms of buying our supplies. We were able to source out cheaper suppliers, and apart from the donations coming from USMA and Foundation, there were many other entities who also donated. Now, the reason why we are having medical mission is for us to increase our patients in the OPD or ACS. So there's a question from Dr. Stella if there was an increase. Actually, there's an increase. But the related question is that did the increase in ACS or OPD translate into admission? Well, I told Dr. Stella that there's no direct connection because even if there's an increase in the consultations in the OPD, the patients eventually would just go home because they will not have enough funds for that mission. For the clinical patients, they are required to have at least 5,000 pesos or $100. This amount is called utilization fee intended for radiation diagnosis, X-ray, laboratories. So me and Dr. Chanto were thinking if this surplus can be used as a way to subsidize the utilization fees of inpatient patients. Because if they're already admitted in the clinical division, chances are, once the initial diagnosis has been done, they will raise enough money in order to sustain the admission. So I was asking Dr. Stella regarding this. Well, initially he said yes, but just for the information of the body, the remaining amount will be used for that purpose. Thank you.
any questions for
And Dr. Nano, the OB/GYN department, the UST, was telling us that yes, they share the surgical money from USMA, but then it only goes for the gynecological patients. They need normal deliveries. So is the normal deliveries included in the surgical donation? No. So they said that because two of my classmates are in OB, gynae, and UST, and I think two of our classmates are also OB, gynae, and UST, and they said they lack normal deliveries. They have enough gynecological patients, but not enough normal deliveries.
Actually, Dr. Ram, it's very true po. Because we have seen so many OPD, perinatal or prenatal consultation, but once they reach the 34, 35 weeks, they just disappear. And I think one reason is that in the government setting po, particularly we're near Jose Pabella and Jose Reyes, they have no balance billing. So what we did is we look into how we can further lower down the package for NSD and CS. Actually, nagkaroon na sa mga, yung pong package na karang service would be 28,000 pa rin po for the normal delivery and around 25 to 40,000 for uncomplicated CS. We even tried po coming up with a package na OB and PEDIA na. Included na po yung neonatal or newborn care. But then, hindi pa rin po talaga kaya, doctor. Kasi kahit with the PhilHealth coverage, yung case rate, may binabayaran pa rin po yung patient around 10 to 12,000. Whereas kung sa government po sila, with the PhilHealth and the Malasakit, no balance billing po. And I think, Doc, na gamit din po dun sa, remember po yung equally shared pattern na, I think that's around 125,000. Kahit po yung OPD fee sa mga prenatal check-up, pinapagamit na rin po namin para lang masubsidize. But then, sa gynae po doktor nagagamit because they can predict the outcome, just like in surgery. Like if you are to undergo hysterectomy, napipredict po nila natin in 4 days lang, then they can already set kung ano yung gagamitin. So, nagagamit po siya sa gynae, but for the OB, hindi po talaga kaya. Doc, I think the residents are in Tondo, and then some are in East Avenue, tsaka nasa, kung hindi ko pabaya, JR po. Pero the majority is in Tondo and, meron pa isa pa, Jose Abad Santos. Yeah, Jose Abad Santos. Kasi po, ang maganda lang po doon, kaya natututukan din, majority of the government employee po na plantilla base are Tomasian graduates din po. So we maintain the quality of the residency too.
How about just a question, Doctor? If we can subsidize 10,000 pesos for surgical patients, ang NSD cannot be brought down to that number so that we can also subsidize, 20 per month or something like that at that month?
So kasi ang allowed lang po kasi with OB is around 125.
Well, we can increase, we can make it like a surgical indigency, we have OB indigency or normal deliveries.
Okay, we initially approved for surgical indigency program to be subsidized by 25,000 per year. Now we also, $25,000. Now we also have agreed to give 50,000 for the 4 other major rotations, OB, pediatrics, internal med, OPD. So it should be 50,000 per year for those 4 major surgical procedures and surgical other rotations, major rotations.
125,000
pesos. Yes, pesos.
Pero nag-gamit na rin kasi daw kung titingnan natin ang isang CS4 is mga nasa 28. So with the case rate po, they still have to pay around 18,000.
Yes,
So hindi pa rin tayo makakomplete dun sa no balance bill.
I agree. So we should increase subsidy to OB for normal spontaneous delivery. Dr. Robert Ang of Southern California.
Northern.
Southern. Another senior, Robert Ang Senior. This is the junior. That's 76. He has promised to give $5,000 as an initial subsidy to OB, normal delivery cases.
And I think our class has also pledged to support OB as far as normal spontaneous deliveries. As far as I thought, Dr. It was like 10,000 pesos, I think.
Which one?
For NSD.
Actually, for uncomplicated to the 28, tapos yung package po from PhilHealth
the actual cost? Well, if there's no donation of medicine, how much does it cost?
Dave,
No.
ano?
You mean the medical mission?
Marijo.
Yeah, 34. Without donation, 34,000. 34,000. 35, just make it 35.
Thank you for your donation. You're going to get 35,000.
Pero Doc, madagdag ko lang ha, part of the expense po kasi is the free of clearances, which includes the laboratory, the X-ray, the ECG.
Yeah.
So, sa amin din kasi Doc, kasama ko yun eh, when they get enrolled, pinapa-medical social service natin. So, meron na po silang around 30% father dun sa laboratory discount natin. But despite of that, gumagastos pa rin yung patient around mga 3 to 4,000 for the laboratory alone. Kaya nagiging cost of our additional expenses.
Dr. Malo, have the hospital reached out to the barangay leaders in order for them to educate the people that UST should be their go-to hospital because it's excellent?
Actually, Dr. one of our partners with the medical mission, from the first to the Peace 2.0, is the parish principal natin, si Father Talavera. And he is closely working with the PHU at saka parang mga katabag sa kanila sa EAC. So actually, Dr. during our meetings, the barangay healthcare workers are really parang attending our meeting, and most of our participants dito sa medical mission came from the different zones in Metro Manila also, aside from those coming outside. So actually, ang isa nga din mong nagiging ano dyan is the hospital has partnership with the parish center na we get referrals for Intayten na galing po dito sa mga barangay na to. So ang kagandahan mo nun, we're working with the parish with the parishioner workers po to help us change the image of the hospital na although while they were thinking na wala na tayong charity ward, pero yun na, through the help of the parish po, nakakakuha tayo ng pasyente from the community. Even the barangay chairman po is a
Excuse me, we forgot about the motion for, there was somebody made a motion for.
Yes, you made a motion regarding the equipment.
No, the $34,000.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So is there a motion for the remainder of the funds?
Yeah, I move that we forgot about Father's report, the excess $34,000. So I move that we use the $34,000 for utilization fee for patients being admitted to the, through the ER or wherever. Of course, before the 5 categories. Second.
Those in favor? Those against? So the motion has been carried. That the $34,679.26 be utilized by UST Hospital Administration for use with indigent patients.
So, Doctora, these are the classified D3 to D5 patients po.
Right, the next item on the agenda is Treasurer's Report by Dr. Zita Yoro.
Look at your map on the Treasurer's Report. It's self-explanatory. There is ordinary, this is from June 16, 2023 to May 18, 2024. Ordinary revenue expenditures, you can read, you want me to read, I can. So the total amount is $273,654.26. The total expenses is $219,000. Oh, no. $319,323.31. USD Simulation Lab, $500,000. Grand total expenditures, $819,323.31.
Any question? I just want to, for you guys to look at this direct pass-through. What it means is, if you want to donate, let's say you are interested in sponsoring cancer research or something, you can say this one is for cancer research, and that will be directly given to whoever is the recipient. So it's donor advised. So in other words, if there's no advice, it goes to the endowment fund. Or it can go to the Simulation Center, or it can go to the Breast Project, or let's see what else, indigency program, St. Martin de Porres. So you have choices as to where your money will go. I also want to remind you that we were able to collect, or we were able to receive donations from our colleagues that passed on. One of them is Dr. Bihunko. We received $33,000 in memory of Joe Bihunko, who was the founder of our foundation. And he's going to receive a posthumous, his family is going to receive a posthumous award on Sunday. Wall of Honor endowment means it's that our Wall of Honor, our endowment fund. That's our endowment fund. That's the principal. You cannot touch it. Yeah. The Simulation Lab, of course, will go to simulation. And legacy goes to whatever the class 75 legacy or class 71 legacy, goes to whatever they desire or where they want to direct their funds. And the St. Martin Indigency Trust Fund is for the medical surgical mission and the indigency program, both. No, actually, it's only for the indigency program. There is also a, no, I think you, oh yeah, okay, I forgot to announce. So we used to be with Raymond James, and at the end of the year we decided to change money managers basically. So now we're with Chase Brokerage account, starting in January. And Dr. Vindia will report on that. Yeah.
When you say direct pass-through and donor advance, how soon do you give the money to the
Right away.
Any questions about the treasurer's report? Otherwise, if somebody wants to move to accept the treasurer's report without any changes?
What is the listing? Donor listing?
Oh, donor listing. Donor listing means, okay, go to the next page. It says donor listing. These are the people that donated between June 16 and May 18 of 2024. And if you look at it, it's just names, but there's designation. Each one has a designation of whether it's for medical mission, whether it's for St. Martin de Porres. But I have a listing of that in QuickBooks. So total donations was $275,545 for the year, June to May. Any questions? We changed from the Raymond James. The question was, why did we change? Because Cal Costello resigned from Raymond James and he went on his own or some other company. So I decided to just go with a bigger bank, the biggest bank in the nation, which is Chase, and very reputable and very good online access to. So I thought They are the same, 0.5%. 0.5. Same as Raymond James, I think was also 0.5. I think that's pretty good.
It's actively managed for only 0.5%. Yeah, that's enough. Very good.
Less than
1%. The lowest rating of the bank.
Raymond. Oh.
It's just my experience. If you're with Chase right now, with so much money that we have, I personally switch, same thing, still with Chase, but they qualify with a JP Morgan.
Yes.
No fee.
You have
Try
no
it.
fee?
No fee for me personally.
Or probably the money is more than, they have a certain, no, they have certain, if you have 5 million to 6 million, 7 million to 10, it goes lower and lower and lower. So if you have more money, let's say, I would say over 10 million, then you're cut down maybe to nothing by the time, so that's why you have no fee. I guarantee. I'm not gonna say how much money you have, but I know there's a graduate.
The foundation has more money that will qualify you with no fee. Just check it.
I did, but I have to talk to you.
If you want to move some of your money. Okay, so motion to approve the treasurer's report. Second? Those in favor? Those against? It has been moved and seconded that we accept the treasurer's report without any changes. Finance Committee report by Dr. Buendia.
Good afternoon. I'm just reporting on the earnings for last year. Still with Raymond James, that would be on the top there. Okay. Finance Director report. That's the earnings for last year. And this was still with Raymond James then. So the income from dividends and interest is 246,783 and 5 cents. Okay, 746,783. And the disbursement, we can disburse 80% of that. So for this year, we can disburse 197,426 and 4 cents. I pleaded with Stella to round this off, so it's easier to calculate. So she's agreed that we can disperse up to 200,000 this year.
The income from Raymond James, what does it translate in terms of percentage of how much money?
How much?
Actually, there are 7,000 by
6 million.
6 million plus.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like
Probably 5%.
3%, 246. I didn't calculate how much because I just got this data a few days ago because nobody could give that data when Kenny left. And I had to plead with the operations manager with Raymond James to release that data because they gave us this data until like 2 days ago. So
It's probably, by the way, you also have to pay 38,000 in fees.
yes, there's another fee.
That's
5.5%.
less than 5%. It was probably
That's
more.
not a good performance if you had got only 5%, you paid 0.5%, it made only 4.5%, which is very low compared to what the S&P did. I don't know how much it made. It made more than.
Right. You know, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I had the same idea. Do you have to understand how our portfolio was distributed last year? So the whole if you look at how stock market makes money, 100% of our money is not invested in stocks. So you cannot compare apples to oranges.
Correct.
You cannot compare apples to oranges. I mean, if you have 7%, well, because we're very conservative, you know, responsibility. So there's about 50-50. So only 50% is in equities.
Yes.
About 50% in equities, 50% is in,
What I'm saying is, a CD is 5.2% now.
No, but before it wasn't.
Yeah, but last year it was at least 5 or 4.5%, and if it made only 5%, that's not a good management. If it's expensive, it's not good management. That's not a,
well, that's why you change. So hopefully Chase will do a better job. And you can have more dispersed next year.
I just calculated it, it's about 3.8%. The earnings.
Net of,
Yes, from the earnings, it's about 3.8%.
your investment is lower than the inflation rate.
Remember, Roy, we advised everything and they came down. Okay, so most of we just recovered at the end of the year. If you look at the beginning of 12/31/22, we have 6.4 million. And at the end of December 2023, we went up to 7.09 million. So it just recovered at the end of the year.
I think the allocation is different because it's leaning towards a fixed income like bonds. That's why the performance you cannot really compare from the stock market or the equity because the allocation is like 60-40.
Yes.
And that explains your expectation of the stock market compared to the bonds. Because bonds are kind of it's underperforming. And that's the reason I think that I saw this one. So kind of just explain why. But if you could compare that to the USMA, the one I presented, it's 100% stocks. That's why it's 30%. So you can compare apple to orange. So that's the reason. So if you invest more like higher in fixed income, then the return will be just like you expected. But if you lean towards equities 100%, then you follow what's the stock market performance.
So who talks with the investor now and says, this is our philosophy, we don't want this allocation, we want more performance. Is someone talks with?
the investment committee headed by our chairman, Tony Buendia.
So far, we haven't met, and we haven't met with the financial advisor, with the new, but hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to contact him and the financial committee. He had a proposal that I just got to do on how to invest this, and we had to really study it, how we could allocate it, and following what attorney evangelist mentioned, we may have to go more conservative because there's a prediction that it may go down this year. The good thing is, at the beginning of the year, I mentioned the amount we had was 7.093 billion. And as of today,
we transferred 69 to Chase.
yes.
6,900,000 was the amount. It went down.
Oh, it went down. Okay.
Yeah. So when we transferred, it was 6,905,350.
Okay. But as of this morning, the amount we have now is 7,237,589.56 cents. So we are now 7.2 with the brokerage. Yes. There's another 1 million with the checking, 500 of which is the simulation center. So we have another 500,000. That's the one that's 25%.
Yeah.
Is this a Chase account fiduciary?
Yeah.
the finance committee report. Is there a motion? Dr. Lamas, the motion to approve, and Dr. Roy seconded. All those in favor, accept. Those against. It's been moved and seconded to accept the finance committee report by Dr. Medina. Next, the agenda is our disbursements and grants.
This is, well, it's a little complicated what to give because I think there's so many suggestions and so much needs. I think we will have a committee of, the key officers, Al, Tony, myself, Sita, and Ferdy, Greg. We can meet with Father and Charito to see what we are going, how we're going to allocate the donations. And then we can report back to you by Zoom or by email. But if you have other suggestions, we started already. Let's go from there. So let me just write it down. Suggestions, what to do with what funding we're going to support. So I think we had the utilization fee was already approved because the money is already there. Yeah, we don't have to approve that. The surgical indigency to 20 patients, we approved that already last year. So we will try to figure out how much money is left in the indigency, surgical indigency. So we call that surgical indigency. 10,000 times 20 patients. Okay. Pesos.
What was that? Can you say it again?
The surgical indigency.
How much?
10,000 per patient times 20 patients a year. Pesos. Per month. 10,000 times 20 patients per month. Times 12 months. And then we have what was the next one we?
Eye surgery?
No, OB.
The four special relations, I am.
Wait, the medical indigency right now, we allocated $10,000. No more, yes, gone? Okay. So, what, OB indigency?
Yes,
OB.
Doctor, you put 125 per ano yung 35% OB and internal and OPD, the 125,000.
125,000 each?
Yes, pero if we are to support OB, they need more.
Okay. So, the others are okay. Medicine.
Medicine po kasi wala. Ang nakakuha lang po yata sa medicine, Doctora, was actually, hindi mo masabi kung dalawa o because one admission, Doctora, said they don't complicated po. Unlike surgery, Doctora, they can predict the amount per case po.
But I guess we do need OB indigency program for normal deliveries at least. Right? Okay. And maybe some.
And psychiatrists also will benefit from that.
Right.
What is insurance? I don't know.
Per patient.
Sa normal, sa NST, Doctor, na complicated, I know 28 to 30.
Good thing I brought mine.
Uncomplicated, Doctor. Tapos ang CS nila, certified, uncomplicated, complicated nila 60.
But let's see the normal deliveries is how much?
Mga 28 to 30,000.
30, okay. Per patient.
So, CS is not considered part of surgical.
60 ang CS. No.
Ano po, yung surgical part na OP. But it's not included in general surgery.
Okay, and then
Suggest po, hospital fees kahit minimal na.
say that again.
Hospital of Wheels, Hospital of Wheels,
Hospital on Wheels. I don't think we should discuss outside the USD. Yeah. Yeah. Third in-house mission. I was thinking we will provide, usually we give 20,000 and the sponsoring organization will raise the rest.
Yeah, pharmacy will
Okay,
also
so we
service.
will, the foundation will give 20 and then 15,000 from whoever will.
Yeah, pharmacy will definitely support.
Okay.
Will provide some.
Someone plus 69, I believe, will sponsor next year, right? Is that correct?
No, they will fund some of
I have asked plus 65, plus 70, plus 75, plus 80, plus 85.
Oh, but they don't want
They
to
haven't
all
given
together.
yet, but I have asked them to give 3 to 5,000 each.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, I'll just put $20,000 from the foundation.
5 from plus 75.
My sister Rina is here. Rina, can you hear me?
She's signed off.
No, she's there.
Rina will match.
I remember you said you will match what was
50,000.
For the initial.
No, foundation. Yeah. For the mission.
For the mission.
No big. So let me repeat, Class 69 will subsidize, will donate 100,000 towards the in-house medical mission. It doesn't mean that it's for next year, but it can be for several years. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so walang basis no, Class 69 is very generous. I know that because they are following our footsteps. Class 68. Rina, our incoming president. I don't know if you can hear me. We cannot hear you. We didn't hear you. Repeat. Go ahead.
Oh, that's better.
Go ahead, Rina.
Okay, so I just had a question. This funding the OP department, how would they choose the people who are going to be, like for normal delivery, you're going to be chosen and you'll be funded? I mean, I'm sure there's more than 20 women who need help. How would they be screening those?
We have patients, Doctora, in our outpatient department. Actually, the good thing about this is that they do have their.
It's very garbled and it sounds very choppy. I don't know whether you're just waiting on somebody.
Yes, Doctora, good afternoon po. This is Chato po, Doctora. Actually, we had so many prenatal check-up in our OPD, and we can screen them while they have their prenatal in OPD. So as for the selection, who will be the recipient for this indigency program, we can do that in the level of our outpatient department. So we just have to attract them to come in and maintain their checkup with us until they deliver. Because what usually happens, Doctora, is that once they reach 34, 35 weeks, they look for other government facility that offers the no balance billing. So nawawala po sila at 34, 35 weeks. But if we can subsidize the package, we can probably retain them until they deliver. Actually, two departments, Doctora, will benefit from this. OB and pediatric department will benefit from this indigency program because actually the pediatric department is also suffering from the lack of patients from the obstetric department. So the screening, Doctora, can be done in the outpatient department.
Okay, thank you.
Now the question, Rina, is how much
Rina,
are you
what we
donating?
wanted to hear from you is you confirm that you said something before about your matching. What are you gonna match?
Okay, so I'm here is my question, and I'm gonna do it. For my term, I'm going to, I guess I already have a match because last 60 days was a heavy matching. But I was going to challenge my class, but my class has been challenged. I would match whatever donations are made towards medical mission up to $50,000 for 2024 and another $50,000 for 2025. So if our classes raise $30,000, towards admission, I would give $30,000. If our classes, or whether it's my class or other people's classes, give 40, then I'll give 40. But if somebody gives $100,000 for 2024, then I'll give $50,000. In other words, I would not get anything up to $50,000 for 2024. My plan is, my classmates yet, I was going to challenge them to raise $50,000 and I would match the $50,000. That was, because we're going to be jubilarians next year. And I was going to try to match them and challenge them to sponsor 2025 or something like that, to make an impact through class 1985. It should be my jubilarian class next year. So if you read my message in the souvenir program, it's entitled the challenge. And the challenge would be to raise as much as we can to help rebuild the program. And in that regard, we would help people who are poor, doctors, healthcare. We would help our residency program, our medical students, from USD, and prevent it from becoming vinegar wine. So that's basically what I'd like to accomplish in the 2 years that I'll be foundation president.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rina. Okay, since you are the jubilarian and we are the golden, right now we can, for our class, we can do 5 and maybe 10. So definitely 5, we can match the funds from our jubilarian classes, we already have 10. So from class 75, we'll have 5,000 at least for the in-house mission.
Very good. Thank you so much. I think, do we have other, hands? Okay. Prudential.
We're pledging 10,000.
Oh.
Class 74.
Class 74.
Oh, for me. Correction. For us.
Personal.
Personal.
Rina, the
because they donated 25,000. One time without, I said, oh my God, who's this people who are donating 25,000? It was Sally and Prudential for the nanotechnology research program of your class, Alice and husband. Yeah, Armando was very interested in the nanotechnology, which we will give you a report in due time. But anyway, who was
I have a suggestion, not only to concentrate on the medical mission part, also, I know, but also we need equipments and machines for the hospital. I think we should consider that and give priority a little bit on that because we need it now.
We have the funds. Okay.
When you have to the mission, you can buy the equipment, right? You can always.
The mission kasi is non-profit, but if we do get a small machine wherein we can generate revenue, actually, look, ganito po kasi, everybody needs or everybody wants po to support the indigency, but the thing is, nandun po kami sa survival mode in terms of operation. So what we really need to do is support muna po on how the hospital can survive so that we can feed and give something for the indigency. Kasi nga po ang isang question dyan is the sustainability of the program. So if the hospital can be independent in terms of cash flow, we can also provide something. Siyempre, Dok, kami po kasi yung nakakaalam ano yung mga kailangan ng patient, Doctor, immediately. So that if the hospital can be somehow independent in their cash flow, Dok, mas maganda po natin mapagtutulungan on how to sustain the indigency program. And one way to do that is to have our own small, kahit po yung small machine, Dok, kasi sila po yung mag-generate ng income. And if we have indigency program with these small equipments, Dok, yung mga charity natin, we can free the procedures. Even to the point na, Dok, na pagka-indigency tag, o wala nang bayad ang x-ray niyan, wala nang bayad ang ultrasound niyan, because the money we bought for that machine came from donations from the USMA po. And baka po pwedeng, tulad po nung sinabi ni Dr. Ramos na we also parang ilagay din natin yung ibang fund natin for some equipments po na magagamit din po natin for the charity patients.
Absolutely.
So it seems that we should not micromanage. We have to rely on Dr. Malon and Father Factora if they say this is how we could allocate and massage these numbers. You know, they let them do the allocation.
Dr. Factora and Dr. Malon will stay. Okay, I'm telling you, don't worry. Just we are very creative, so we can figure it out, and we just need to know the how much, and something like the X-ray. I really think we should have an X-ray machine. Can you imagine? USC only having one X-ray machine, and it's still is it digital now? One old. I feel bad for you, Meron ba sila oh my God. Okay. It's embarrassing. We won't tell anybody. Okay. So, anything else? Loki and then Owen.
pediatric resident, I asked them, okay, a patient have hepatitis media, how do you give the medicine? And then they said they write a prescription and they go to the pharmacy. Am I right? Yes. Now when they go to the pharmacy, it looks like they still have a co-payment. Am I right?
Yeah, Dr.
So if we can subsidize the co-payment, then the medicine is free. Amoxicillin is 100 pesos from the duty participant.
Are you talking about the admission?
They have a co-payment with, you know,
The medical mission? During the medical mission?
I donated some amoxicillin, but I'm sure that when I was asking the residents, pediatric residents, what do you do when the patient has an ear infection, okay? They write a prescription to the pharmacy.
Oh, that's for outpatients. Yeah, that's for outpatients.
In the pharmacy, it looks like the patient has a little co-payment.
For outpatient, they
For
pay.
outpatient.
Yes.
So I was wondering if we could subsidize that little outpayment, so the exact amoxicillin will be free. Because the patient is still has to pay a little.
For the medical mission, the medicines are free. But for the outpatient, they have to pay.
For amoxicillin, which is a 2 pesos.
I know.
For nobody knows nothing.
But actually now, I heard that the Department of Health is giving free medicines. That
For vaccination.
No, like hypertensive, antihypertensives.
For DOH yung para sa government na
Doctora, let me clarify. Are you referring to the medical mission or the outpatient? Yes, Doctora, usually that's the case for outpatient. They have free consultation and they will be given an RX. If there's still an excess medicines coming from the donations, then we leave out. The difficulty with us providing the medications for the outpatients, that would really cost hundreds of millions. Because it's not just antibiotics, but antihypertensives, for the insulin, talagang medyo mas
So the charity patient has still a little co-payment when they go to the pharmacy.
Yeah, they do.
And sometimes they don't even have $2 pesos. So they don't get the medicine.
Yeah, pero ang kagandahan po, we have a separate classification for outpatient indigent and outpatient private. Mas mababa po ng konti yung price na outpatient na indigent sa pay. Pero yun nga daw kasi cash basis, they have to have an out of the market to pay.
So question to Dr. Chapo, when do you expect the cardiac catheterization network to be up and functional? Because every year we did give $5,000 towards the heart mission, which obviously goes dear to my heart. So we did not use any this past year because the cath is closed. So when do you anticipate opening that so that we can fund again the heart mission?
Okay, full disclosure for doctors. The machine, we already paid the supplier 40 million as early as 2019. The machine is already in the Philippines, but she could not deliver to the USC hospital because the contract between the supplier and GE says that she has to pay the full payment. Now the supplier is having difficulties with her cash flow. She could not make the full payment. That's why she could not deliver the machine to us. So now we're in a dilemma whether to cancel the contract. If we cancel the contract, then we go back to zero, meaning we have to find another supplier. No, the 40 million is with her, but there are still collectibles. There are other equipment from in the hospital which belongs to the supplier, so we just say that. So right now we are already employing the services of our legal team in order to handle it. Yun nga po, it was conducted before. For 40 million pesos.
The amount of the machine is 65 million only. But for based on the previous contract, we will be paying around 100 million. Ganun po kalaki yung tubo ng, actually Father Financier po yung kausap namin. Ang supplier is the GC. May middle person po eh. Yun lang po sana. Pero hindi po. They're just honoring the contract from the
Okay, so I know I feel bad with you.
Tapos sobrang problem pa doon yung accreditation ng cardio. Because they were given provisionary accreditation for 1 year last year. They will be revisited this coming, I'm not so sure kung October or November, but we're saying the supplier na June para lang ma-deliver sa amin yung June. But that's the problem though, kung hindi nakita ng PHA yung machine, wala kaming accreditation ng section ng cardio. Which is bad kasi kami po dati, Doctor, yung leading training hospitals for heart and catheterization.
We'll make it happen, Sally.
We will make it happen, just like that.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, well, we will finalize it together, you know, like we sit down and go over it, because it's very loose right now. But more or less, we are providing the utilization fee, which is $34,000. That's already funded, okay? The surgical indigency program, which is 10,000 pesos times 20 times 12. Okay, that's in pesos. The OB indigency is 30,000 pesos times how many?
Actually, the word with that, ang average na po nila is around 6 to 8 patients.
10, that's still 10.
Ang month po.
Oh.
Pero just like monthly, Doctor, we can probably stretch out.
We'll probably do 10, okay? Times 10 times 12, yeah. Per month. Just do normal delivery. If it happens that it becomes a C-section, then you will just request for more. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know. Just okay, then 13,000 times 10 times 12. That's OB. Medical mission in-house, $20,000 for January of 2025. That's our.
So you really just find out how much will be lacking to make 35.
Yeah.
No, because if there are people who have 1 year mark for medication,
Then we can use it for the for something else. Yes. Exactly. Yes. What Al is saying, that if we get funding from the classes and chapters, we will use that money for something else. So we could use it to purchase equipment. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, the budget is $20,000 from the foundation. 25,000 because you still have to pay for food. 25,000. So we don't know how much we're going to collect, but if we collect 35,000 for the year, we don't have to work. I mean, we don't have to put out the 20. We can use it for something else. I mean, for contingency, we might have a cesarean section, maybe 2. That means there will be additional expense. And then plus then there's request for ultrasound. Did you say ultrasound also? No. X-ray, no. X-ray, digital X-ray, and CBC CMP machine. Yeah. So we will buy only the chest X-ray package. We'll buy the cheaper one version. EKG, X-ray, CBC CMP machine. Yeah.
If we have enough money, can we increase the medical missions instead of once a year? Can we do it twice a year?
Yes, if we have, I think so. 2 missions, can you handle 2 missions a year?
I have been involved in them, and it's a big endeavor, really. I mean, I take my hat off to these two, the hospital has really done that, grabbing to a job to get this going. Making it twice a year is going to be a little bit of a stretch. Because, the resources of the staff, volunteers, it's really a big thing. So what we want to do is make smaller missions monthly, and that's this amount that and that's doable. I mean, we've consulted with, surgery, it's doable with medicine. So instead of having 2 big missions, we say 1 big mission and have 11 smaller missions throughout the year.
Yes, we're talking about the in-house medical mission.
Yes. So
That
this
is the in-house medical mission.
Yeah, the in-house medical mission, the big one that we've been discussing, that's the one in January. But what we want to do is make smaller in-house missions, meaning patients will not be paying anything. But this will be, for surgery, OB, and medicine, stretched over 11 months. So that we just don't do the big mission and then forget about the rest of the time, So we'll be stretching out monies to be able to support mini in-house missions, so to speak.
Yes, not outside mission.
No,
Because
no,
I
no,
think
no.
it helps the students,
That's the whole
helps the
point.
residents.
Yes, that's the whole point, yeah. We take care of the institutions in-house, and it also helps the education of, the staff and friends.
When you say small mission, how many cases?
Well, when we surgical, and then, OB is 10, and then, we will be funding medicine, pediatrics, OB, outpatient. So it's like mini medical missions stretched over 11 months.
Kasi I asked my classmates, they want to do a small in-house medical mission.
Yes.
To let's say 30,000 for a big mission. And how much do the missions cost every month?
We can add it up. I mean, there's like several of them.
So from last year, since we're doing 10 surgical monthly, that's about 100,000.
Yeah, 10 surgical patients per month is 10 times 10 times 10.
100,000 per month.
Yeah, 100,000 pesos per month for the surgical patients alone. In pesos, 100,000 pesos per month. We're increasing that to 200,000 pesos per month. Because we will be funding now 20 surgical patients per month over the remaining 11 months.
Plus 10.
Yeah, 6 surgical indigent patients, yes. So they don't have.
Plus 10 OP at 30,000.
Plus 10 OB at 30,000 each per month over 11 months. So you do the math. Okay, so and